Vic, you've been building out a series of applications on top of your own internal cloud. Do you have any plans to move to a cross-cloud strategy at some point?
Well, before I answer that question, let me just go back to something Eric asked, which is about this trend of enterprise being influenced by consumer. I find it sometimes comical that we act like this is new. From my perspective, this has been going on for upwards of 20 years. I remember being a kid and being tasked by Bill Gates to go help fight the IPX battle. We had a protocol called NetBEUI. There was this company called Novell that had dominant share, and we tried to sell something called Landman. You guys might remember that. And in fact, it wasn't IPX, it wasn't NetBEUI that won. It was something called TCP/IP. And in fact, the consumer internet influenced that. A few years later, in 97, 98, I was out trying to drive adoption of something called XML HTTP requests that we had put in Internet Explorer. And despite all we tried, we couldn't get adoption. You know who made it happen? Paul. In April 2004 in Gmail. And using Ajax techniques really demonstrated to the world what every enterprise would then do and say, how do I build an app like Gmail? And so I think even today, if you want to know what's going to happen in the enterprise, go watch the leading edge consumer apps like Facebook, or like the architecture Ning is using, or some of the apps that Google's building. Now, when it comes to our platform, our cloud, we want to make that available to developers as simply as possible. We have these two guys who built BuddyPoke, an app engine, one of the most popular Facebook apps. And the two guys say, well, we have expertise in writing 3D software. We didn't know how to manage servers or any of that, and Google was able to take care of that scale. And we'll continue down that kind of investment. What people fail to understand is our motivation for building the cloud. If you go to a country that doesn't have great Google usage, I'm not going to name a country, but think of a country that's underdeveloped. And what happens is that even though the country has connectivity and the carriers lay down pipes or wireless capability, usage does not go up. You know why? Because there's no native internet content in that country. Well, that problem doesn't exist in the Western industrialized nation. We have content. But Google wants apps on that internet platform, and we love the Facebooks of the world, the Salesforce of the world. And so our cloud is about making it possible for more apps to be generated, because that drives more internet usage, and few companies stand to benefit economically more from greater internet usage than we do. And that explains our motivations.
The motivation question is very interesting. Actually, I wanted to ask Werner that. I think a lot of people in that room are grateful that Amazon is sort of taking a leadership position in a lot of these areas. But there's still a question in a lot of people's minds: is why is Amazon doing this? Just because it can, or how is this part of Amazon's core business?
No, so there's two answers to that question. The first one is that Amazon has had a long history in actually building platforms. Yeah, so we've built enterprise services platform for opening up our e-commerce platform to the outside world. We've had a traffic platform where you can drive traffic back to Amazon. So we have a long history in actually taking the core competencies that are developed within Amazon. And for example, one of those is food fulfillment. You can put your packages in an Amazon warehouse and use a web service call to actually get those packages shipped. So many of the core competencies that Amazon has developed over time, we've also opened it up as a platform for others to use. Now, something that we needed to do when Amazon really started to scale up was actually, take our technology and make it ultra scalable. And there's a long talk I can give about, what are the different technology movements within Amazon that drove us to develop infrastructure as a service, but we needed to develop for ourselves. At the scale of Amazon, there is no commercial software that we could actually acquire and take care of all the scale and reliability and the security and the performance management that Amazon needed. And so we needed to develop this technology for ourselves. And once we had this platform and saw how successful it was that we could launch all sorts of internal new products on it, we also started to realize that this was yet another platform that we could open up to the rest of the world to develop upon. Did we anticipate upfront that it would become so hugely popular, not only within startups, but also within the enterprise? Maybe not. But it was clearly that we opened this platform as a known strategy that we've done before.
Did it occur to you that you might wake a sleeping gorilla sitting next to you?
Absolutely.
Mark Mark's not asleep.
I think that gorilla was already
I think
awake,
the
but
gorilla
that's
is
a whole
awake.
different story.
To the left.
No. So more importantly, I think is that if you look at the AWS as a business, Amazon.com, which is which uses AWS for all of its services, is only a moderate player on this platform now. This is a business that has greatly outgrown. If anybody ever had the idea that we were just selling off extra capacity, that was never the case. This was a standalone business from the beginning, and we completely focused on that and executed on it. Next to that, I still want to say this is still day one. There's a lot of things that still need to happen, and there's a lot of things that we're doing, especially at the infrastructure level, to make sure that those services that we do really meet the needs of those that have to develop applications in the cloud right now. And so I think there's room for a lot of innovations.